Broads Media.
Who the hell's cutting onions? That was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. Here I am, shedding tears out my ass at 1 o'clock on a Monday afternoon because Jason Kelce retires. And as soon as he put out that tweet saying there's no keg this year, and then some of the beat guys put out a bunch of pictures of reserved seating. Yeah, there was only one thing happening today, and that's Jason Kelce hanging up the cleats, and I couldn't stop myself. Tears were pouring here at the Brody household and all around my family. There's people in my family that like sports. They're not as dedicated as I am to sports, but they like sports from a distance, and they couldn't stop engaging themselves in that 50-minute press conference and his announcement. And so Jason Kelce to walk in there with the damn cutoff. Here he is with his big ass arms. He's got an Eagles cutoff. Hey, just another ho-hum day at the NovaCare complex, right? No shirt and tie. No looking all spiffy. Travis Kelce didn't put together any sort of Gucci outfit. Didn't dive into the Louis Vuitton. I don't know what shoe wear he had going. Wouldn't be surprised if it was flip-flops and then some sort of jean shorts from Plato's Closet. I don't know. And nothing wrong with Plato's Closet, by the way. You can find snags there. You can get absolute deals. But that's Jason Kelce to a T. And I don't remember what life is without Jason Kelce taking, that center position by storm and handing the ball off to every quarterback we've had since he's been here in Philadelphia. So it's amazing what he's done. How ironic that after almost an hour, he steps away very abruptly and goes, well, that's all I got, and gets up to hug his family. It's all you got. You just gave us everything in that speech. You were thanking your hockey coach from Cleveland or from Ohio. In Ohio, you're thanking your hockey coach. Your hockey coach. You went through the whole damn list, and as you should. You gave us stories from Zach Ertz not working hard, not wanting to throw a block, to him actually having yards after the catch, which opens up a can of worms because there's no doubt in my mind that he was quote tweeting or subtweeting some of the current dudes in the locker room today when he went on that spiel about what it's like to play here in Philly, what makes it so special, and why the fan base is the way that it is. So, I mean, it was just a remarkable 50 minutes or so, and it's amazing. I mean, I just thank Jason Kelce for everything that he's done. It was sort of a, whoa, oh, wow, this is real moment when he was doing his thing because, well, over the last 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, it's been about, hey, he's contemplating, hey, he's wondering if, and there was actually some sort of optimism. Travis Kelce was asked during the Super Bowl week, the week leading up, what does he think about his brother? I know he's got plenty of football left, and that's probably why he was as emotional as he was, is because he knows the dude's doing it at a high level. The guy's playing at a high level, and I thought it was fascinating that he talked about how if you tell him he can't do it, that's what makes him thrive, and he really does capture the underdog story, and that's what makes him go, and when maybe he gets all this praise in the world, he's so accustomed to being told he's not big enough, switching positions, those second-level blocks, I've never seen anything like it. I will never see anything like it. That second-level block, you think of a Sunday night football game, all eyes on the Eagles, and they show a nice run play, and they show the blocking downfield. This dude with one forearm is chucking people 6 yards away. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. We won't see anything like it again. But because there was so much doubt on can he make it, this and that, and the storyline surrounding him early in his career, where he was drafted, that's what fueled him. And I wonder if now that he got to this point of being recognized as one of the best centers to ever play, if not the best center to ever play, if there was something that I don't know, alarmed him. Hey, whoa, whoa, hey, whoa, whoa, hey. I don't know. At the same time, I think it's very easy for someone like that to come up with something that fuels him. For example, everybody's counting Nick Sirianni and this entire organization out right now because of how the collapse happened, that bada bing, bada boom, you roll right into next year, and that's exactly what you write on that whiteboard. That's exactly how you try and inspire the fellas, and his leadership is going to be a huge hit. For them to fall apart the way they did with a Jason Kelce in the locker room is very damaging, and I don't know if they have what it takes to just replace that. And quite frankly, I don't think many teams do. So even though I'm going to question the combination of Darius Slay, A.J. Brown, even Jalen Hurts from a leadership level, with all the reports saying he needs to change, he needs to become one with some of his teammates more, he needs to be willing to speak to certain guys in the room, this and that. Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes me wonder what's happening inside those walls, and the fact that you don't have Jason Kelce to lean on, it is a passing of the torch, and I don't know if what's in the room is good enough, especially if Fletcher Cox might be gone. There's some reports out there that he's going to retire, and maybe he's definitely a late call kind of thing. A moment like Sue, or who was the other guy? Linval Joseph was a late call during a home run stretch. I believe Fletch definitely has more of an opportunity, possibly if the Eagles are doing good and, hey, they can use a body and they can definitely beef up that defensive line rotation. Yo, Fletch, what are you doing? You staying in shape? Howie picks up the phone and says, my guy, we got a nice spot for you with your name on it. Hey, we know where you want to sit in the locker room. Don't worry about it. We'll move whoever around. We want you back here for a 5-game stretch down the way. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but you definitely might lose a lot there from a vocal level, and not just from a vocal level, and from a play level. Geez, we haven't even talked about the drop-off that's going to happen, even though I do believe that they're still going to have a fantastic offensive line, because they are going to have one, and Cam Jurgens is going to be a very solid center. You're not going to have Hall of Fame level center, and I can't put the expectations on him to be even 90% of Jason Kelce, 80% of Jason Kelce. But hell, if you're 50% of Jason Kelce, you are a very solid player in this league. And there might be a drop-off there, but from a full body of work from all 5 linemen going at once, all them doing their job, all them operating as one unit, there's no doubt that I have faith in Jeff Stoutland to really solidify something solid here, with Lane Johnson as your right tackle, with Mailata as your left tackle, with Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens. Yeah, figure out what you're going to do at right guard, but there's no doubt that you're going to be in a position for your offense to work with the names that I just laid out. So forget the leadership level, forget the from the actual play level, but how about from the this is how you go to work every day. And that is leadership, don't get me wrong. But when I say leadership, I'm talking more about the rah-rah with the room when things are going tough and you have a rough loss. Who do you lean on most? But I'm saying more about you got some 21-year-olds, 22, 23-year-olds entering the league, and really how you mold yourself as a professional. And that falls absolutely in leadership, so I don't know what I'm saying here. But there's many different layers to leadership. There's so much that you do as a leader, that there's so much underneath of that umbrella. So just how you attack the job every day, how you watch film every day, how you show up to get physical therapy when needed. How do you take care of your body? It's draining, all right? We see guys like Jordan Davis struggling to make it through. We saw Jalen Carter hit a rough wall and a rough patch because it is hard to go through these big men nonstop for 17 games. How do you do it? How do you get yourself properly going in the offseason? You're lifting and the conditioning and putting that all together so you're just in the right form the moment that first game happens, with now the new way that people handle the preseason. And now September is essentially preseason to get guys in shape. So how do you do it? Well, Jason Kelce was a voice to lean on, and now you lose that big time. And, I definitely want to play for you all the audio of Jason Kelce and sort of what he had to say about what it's like to play here in Philly. It was sad. It was sad. He couldn't keep it together. He went through waves. He'd be able to get stuff off of his chest for a few minutes, and then he would just end up crying for a little bit of time, and then he'd be able to get some more out. Then he'd cry, and then he'd talk about his father, and then he'd cry. Then he'd talk about Jeff Stoutland. Then he'd cry. And he's a very emotional guy. That's why we love him. He's real. He's authentic, and he's amazing. And this is essentially Brian Dawkins. I mean, that's what we're at here. This is Brian Dawkins no longer playing. Instead of having to deal, though, with the disgusting, hey, you're going to go play in Denver, this was, you're going to walk away, and this is the end of it. And this is you hanging them up, and we have to live with it, unfortunately. So it was handled differently than what happened with Brian Dawkins, but it is essentially losing that type of powerful voice and that type of important person to your entire franchise. And it hurts. It hurts, man. It definitely changed a lot. There's just no sugarcoating it. And in a time where you're as fragile as you are, it is a dangerous time to deal with it. Okay, so we're going to hear from Jason Kelce in 1 second. Before we do, we are on a mission to continue growing Broads Media in every way possible. So if you are enjoying this content, make sure to subscribe and leave a thumbs up. But we have even more Broads Media content coming your way. Coffee with Broads is back. That's right. Starting March 28th, which is opening day, you can join the Broads Media membership here on YouTube for $4.99 a month, and you will have access to Coffee with Broads live streams every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. It'll be very laid back, super chill, very interactive with you and the chat. And there's also a Broads Media Discord channel that is currently active, where we will communicate live when games are going on, talking about all the action in real time. Nothing is changing with the current pods and the model. This is just added bonus if you want more in your life. I'm looking forward to starting Coffee with Broads live streams again March 28th. And make sure if you're interested, you get yourself your membership today down below. This guy doesn't miss starts. He doesn't miss starts. Let that sink in. He just goes, wired differently, plays through everything, plays through pain. They don't make him like Jason Kelce anymore. Hey, I got something that's hurting me. Figure it out. Hey, we'll make sure it's taped. Hey, we'll make sure we're taking anything behind the scenes, getting shot up with something so I don't feel it until the game's over. And I'm not saying all that stuff is right, because you do unfortunately hear scary-ass stories on how some of these pro sports teams give players certain stuff to make sure the pain doesn't hurt, this and that. And then by the end of it, hey, you probably shouldn't have been doing that, right? So I'm not praising that stuff, but just say Jason Kelce does whatever it is to keep that Iron Man streak rolling and always be available for his guys. It's gruesome. He's in the trenches non-stop, 24/7. The tush push, you name it. That's effective because of how he creates his leverage and how he's a monster. We won't see it, and I'm a little scared that the current makeup of the locker room from a leadership level is in trouble. And let's take a listen to Jason Kelce as he explains what it's like to play here and how we correlate this to the debacle of some of the leaders in the room today. Here's Jason Kelce.
No one celebrates their own like the city of Philadelphia. Athletes become demigods in this city, even ones whose deeds span decades before. The Eagles are the number one ticket in town, the most talked about thing at nearly every moment. With that amount of attention, you better be ready to overcome the lows that will happen and be ready to persevere in the face of the criticism. Yes, they will let you know when you are not performing well. Every time. But they will also love you if you show effort, aggression, desire, the will to fight. They will love you in this city if you love it the way you love your brother. You will be loved by going above and beyond to show that you care, because they care. They've been caring for generations in this town about this team, and they aren't about to accept a bunch of excuses and soft-ass nonsense representing the name on the front of the jersey, something they've invested their entire lives in. If you don't like what the fans and media are saying as a player, it's very easy. Love them, treat them like your brothers, and go out and play your balls off. Wear your heart on your sleeve, and I guarantee you change those narratives.
How about that, huh? I mean, that is right on the money. And by the way, there's a reason why that's being said. Jason Kelce is a very smart man. He is very intelligent. He's in those walls all day long, so he knows exactly what's going on. And that is a message sent to the ones in the room right now, that you better knock it off. All right, you got to put soap in your mouth, whatever it is. Get that nastiness out, because you have to recognize the way this is going to work. And if you want the bond that I've created here, and trust me, I think you'd all sign up, because this dude could be mayor. This dude could be whatever it is. And he is the face of Philadelphia. He is the face of Philly in a market where Bryce Harper exists. Bryce Harper is one of the biggest faces of the entire sport of baseball. He plays in this town. He has monster moments in the playoffs, big home runs against the Braves and Padres and World Series and this and that. He's on the biggest stage when the lights shine bright. Nobody's stepping up in more clutch situations than him. And Jason Kelce has surpassed Bryce frickin' Harper. He has surpassed Joel Embiid, who wins an MVP of the entire NBA. He is the face of it all. And if you want that, listen to me right now. You have to treat this way differently than you are right now, because it's a disaster how you're approaching the fan base and the media and everything. It's a controllable. Do what you got to do. You got to realize that this is all coming from a place of love. It's hard, tough love, but you have to understand it. And once you understand it, it makes it easier for you to approach. Instead of you fighting back nonstop, instead of you going with your hands up thinking you're fighting 60,000 people at the link, think of it as we're brothers. And sometimes you do fight. Sometimes you do bang heads. Sometimes you're throwing haymakers in the backyard. You clip them in the jaw, and then 2 hours later you're hugging, playing video games. That's the nature of the beast, and you have to understand that this is the way the city goes, and until you embrace it, you're probably going to be in a tough spot. And I think 1,000% that was said to Darius Slay, 1,000% that was said to A.J. Brown, 1,000% that was said to everyone currently who stands with the contract with the Eagles, because he knows exactly why there's turmoil, and he sees it real close. He saw it firsthand, and I love that, man. That's Jason Kelce. That's why we love him. He keeps it 1,000. He keeps it 100. He keeps it $1. And that's what he just did to his former teammates as he walks out the door for the final time. Although, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in Jeff Stoutland's shoes one of these days and he's teaching technique to the young kids, and we end up having the best offensive line to ever exist after one of the best offensive linemen coach to ever exist. Right. Hey, Jeff Stoutland's hanging him up. Oh, no, what are we going to do? Oh, hold on. Here's Jason Kelce, who left the broadcast booth, and now he's going to take his talents back to the NovaCare complex, and we go on a 15 to 20-year run of excellence again with offensive line play. Sign me up for that in a damn heartbeat. But he also went on to praise Malcolm Jenkins in 2017 when Carson Wentz got hurt in L.A., what he was able to do. It just shows you how important multiple different voices are. But you have no voices defensively outside of Slay, and he just keeps attacking the entire fan base and his own teammates as it is, saying they don't play well enough, but he plays fine. So, I don't think that's great. Hassan Reddick might not be here. Who knows if he's going to get traded to the Dallas Cowboys. Apparently there's reports out there that Dallas is interested, and oh man, would that be something. That's for sure. So, who do we have? Because it's obvious that when you win a championship, it wasn't just Jason Kelce. It was Jason Kelce plus. And you can't remove Jason Kelce and think that you automatically fill that void. It doesn't happen. No organization can do it. So I'm not holding them to that standard, right? Hey, go replace Jason Kelce. You don't. You don't. You have to find other ways. You get creative. You bring in different voices. Vic Fangio, that is an example of what you do do to try and, if he's 100%, right, how do you find a way to fill that 100% of Jason Kelce that you lose? Vic Fangio might be 15%. Kellen Moore might be 8%. Someone that you bring in might be 12%. It's something like that. If you go get Snead from Kansas City, I'm just speaking out loud here, that could be a veteran presence. But when you win a championship, think about him praising what Zach Ertz does, what Malcolm Jenkins does. The point is, it's that plus. It's Kelce plus a Malcolm Jenkins leader. And, man, Malcolm Jenkins is one of my all-time favorite Eagles. I understand it doesn't have the same level of impact as the Jason Kelce and Brian Dawkins, but after we hit that tier of greatness and the Reggie Whites and things of that nature, that next wave, man, Malcolm Jenkins hit me in a way that not many do, and I miss him to death, and that's what you need, and I don't think you have that in this room. And real honestly here, one of the big things that this opens up, and this is probably a discussion for a later day because I want to give Jason Kelce all the respect in the world, and that be the biggest important takeaway from today's show is thank you, Jason Kelce. But this sure does put a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts to really improve in that department. And it might be a blessing in disguise that having Jason Kelce walk out the door, especially during the times where we were wondering what type of leader Jalen Hurts is, hey, that timeline existed for a reason. The reason why this happened is now it's on you. Hey, this is the football gods pretty much saying, yo, Jalen Hurts, this is now your time. You have to take the bull by the horn. It is absolutely 1,000% the time to shine for you. Let's go be that guy. Let's go change the narrative on the leadership qualities, and let's bring this room together and show everyone that what happened down the stretch last year was more of a, okay, hey, things just snowballed quickly. We didn't have the answers, but it wasn't because we are dysfunctional for long term. We were just dysfunctional during that stretch, unfortunately. I can't put my fingertips on it. It was 7, 8, 9 different things that really came together that put us in that very unfortunate circumstance, but that's not who we are, and now Jalen Hurts is forced to play a bigger role because you can't lean on Kelce that way. Time to get uncomfortable, and sometimes you take steps that are maybe not ideal when you get uncomfortable. A different side of you shows up when you're uncomfortable, but it could be a positive thing because you're forced. Your hands are tied behind your back. You got nothing else to do. You can't wait around. You can't ask somebody else to do it. Yo, Jalen, you have to do it. And then maybe this takes off. Just something that I'm spitting as we talk out loud here through it all. All right, what we're going to do now, though, is take some Anytime Hotline calls. A lot of you wanted to share your opinions on Jason Kelce and thank him for everything that he did. So let's kick things off here on the Anytime Hotline. Let's run it.
Well, Jason Kelce is now retired, and we are so unbelievably screwed. This next year is going to be one of the worst for Philadelphia Eagles fans to date, I promise. Between all of the Darius Slay stuff and A.J. Brown stuff, pretty much in general, all of the attitudes that are in the locker room, to lose one of the biggest vocal leaders and veterans and greatest center, one of the greatest centers of all time, is going to be something that we can't match. And our offensive line is going to struggle because Cam Jurgens is not it.
What?
See you, Broods. Thanks, Jason.
Hold on. What are you saying that Cam Jurgens can't play? In what world do you have the knowledge that Cam Jurgens can't play? I thought the first call would be maybe along the lines of the thanks, Jason, was the final thing here. And, you did hit on some stuff that I've been talking about throughout the show, but I don't know. I didn't expect that for call number one. And the offensive line's not going to stink. This offensive line's never going to stink. They put way too much emphasis on the offensive line. They're going to overdraft offensive linemen. This is what they do. I mean, they draft offensive linemen left and right. There's talk that they might go to Georgia, get their offensive lineman, might look at Oregon State's offensive lineman, Fuaga. The list goes on and on. So who knows? I mean, they're constantly going to put so many damn assets into this. Where I agree with you, though, is, I don't know about the leadership anymore. And I don't know if they're going to be good or not. With Vic Fangio, with Kellen Moore, I think it'll be better than last year. They're not going to be a 4-win team. The Philadelphia Eagles organization, they're not 3-win teams. They're not 4-win teams. When that does happen, Andy Reid gets knocked out of town. Doug Peterson gets knocked out of town. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not telling you they're going to go out there, win 13 games, and go win a Super Bowl by any means. They might be a 9-8 team, a 10-win team or something, and that won't satisfy me. Trust me, I'll spend plenty of time ripping them apart if that's the case, and there's going to be things I don't like. But, you say it's going to be one of the worst Eagles histories and this and that. No, they're going to be a 1-win team, a 2-win team. But, yes, your concerns about losing that voice absolutely is impactful. But you're not giving – you can't write Cam Jurgens off because he's not Jason Kelce. We got to grade on a curve here. There might be missed assignments. There might be a bad snap. Although, hey, Jason Kelce has definitely had his fair share of bad snaps in there. So if Cam Jurgens does have one that goes over the head of Hurts or timing's off this and that, the snap's too low, there was some crazy times of watching Jason Kelce go through that experience. And then he punches himself in the head because he's so angry, or he's throwing his helmet down full speed on the bench. And that's what he does. You could tell he's pissed. His face is red and he's looking up in the air at disgust, so angry with himself. That's the Jason Kelce experience, and I'm sure going to miss it. Watching all the pictures of him going from when he was first drafted here all the way up, hearing him tell his story about when they were asking him to switch positions, and he goes, offensive line. In what world? You could tell, though, that he's going to miss when he talks about the camaraderie with the fellas and hanging out with the guys after practice in the cafeteria, this and that. I mean, we all played sports, right? That's the number one thing I miss about hockey. All right, my body can't hang anymore with the actual skating and the working out and this and that. I don't even want to do that. But the one thing that I really had a hard adjustment doing after my playing career was over in college was I missed the boys. I missed the locker room. I missed jokes. I missed after a weekend series that you had cold ones with the boys. I missed even walking to class, 4 or 5 of us on the team together, had the same class, or had to go to the same building. Man, there was something about that family and that bond that you create by going out there and going and competing at a high level and just having everybody's back. And when there is a mold of a great crew around you, that Jason Kelce has obviously had a good amount of teammates. He referenced where they were from, and Fletcher Cox and Lane, and just the entire Darren Sproles, right? Your super small guy. You get big men in there that are 300-plus pounds, and you get a Darren Sproles, and you look in the locker room, you see different races, different size people, different backgrounds, where they grew up, different this, different that, and we become one. There is something special about that you can't duplicate in the outside world. I had a tough time figuring out, okay, what do I do now? I don't have that. This is my full-time job, right? So I don't have 50 coworkers that I get to hang out with like I do. No, I do over at the radio station and all and whatnot, but I'm just saying, how do you duplicate that? How do you duplicate that relationship like you do when you play a sport? And you just can't. You just can't, and you miss it. And hearing Jason Kelce know that that's definitely the next part of this is figuring out that you don't have that anymore. You can tell how much that took a toll on him. But he's doing what's best for his family, happy for him and his family, and for his girls, his 3 daughters. They're going to love the time that he gets to spend with them now, and it's just amazing what we got to experience with Jason Kelce. One of a kind. Let's go to Amadeo.
Even a half hour to an hour after that press conference, I am still just sitting here in my feels. My God, that was an emotional roller coaster, just watching and listening to Jason Kelce just talk for that entire time about his career, about the team, his family, and everything. It was too much for me to handle. I'm going to be honest with you. And I feel like we have known this for a while at this point. It was a long time coming, just from this past season, from the so many off seasons about questioning whether he was going to retire or not. I think deep down we knew this was going to happen, but it just doesn't make it any easier. It feels like it's even harder that we're finally at this day, and now that he's not officially going to be stepping into the links, stepping into the NovaCare complex in that Eagles uniform, going out there every single week, giving his all, it's definitely going to be a huge loss for this team. And I hope they can find a way to replace that, because missing the player that Jason Kelce is that's just an impossible thing to replace.
It is impossible to replace. You just have to find other ways around. You have to look at it where it's, we won't replace exactly that. We'd be naive to think that we can just automatically find somebody, mold that into Jason Kelce. He's one of a kind. So what can we do to improve? You just have to look at it from a more of a general sense. How can we improve? Instead of how can we find the next Kelce, how can we find what Kelce brought? We won't. We won't. We can't set that label on it, because if you do, you're setting yourself up for failure. But you're right about when you constantly hear it, you set yourself up knowing that it's going to happen eventually down the road. Especially, you could tell about how much he really liked Cam Jurgens and what he saw in Cam Jurgens and the athleticism and this and that. Well, when you're starting to pluck them, even though we've been through multiple different plucks, he's plucked a couple of guys, maybe not him specifically, but the Eagles have told us that this is going to eventually be the replacement of Jason, and it never was, because Jason kept going along here. Because we're so accustomed, though, that at the end it was, hey, I got one more year left in me. Hey, we do have another time. We do have another run. We still got more together. You think, you hold on hope. You think there's still a chance because, well, he said this multiple different times. But the second you mentioned the no keg thing, for a little bit, before I saw pictures of the reserved seating, I thought he could have pulled the good old Wolf of Wall Street. I did. I saw that kind of circulating online, that maybe he pulls the I'm not going anywhere card. And I thought maybe it was possible to try and steer us one way, toy with our emotions a little bit. Not too much, but hey, no keg. I'm going to talk at 1 o'clock. It's like, hey, all right, what's happening here? But it was going to happen at some point. And the crazy part is he's still on top. He really is. He could do this for the next 3 years, and I promise you he'd still be elite. He'd still be one of the best ever. And that's probably what makes it even harder, too, is he knows it's the right time to step away, even though there's still so much more left in the tank. Yeah, but not many people get to walk away on top. It is rare, 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 rare. It really is. Let's take another one here.
So I'm sure, like many of us, after watching that, if you watched that without crying, you might be the strongest man alive, because that was rough. But I just want to give a quick story. So I'm 21 now, and so in 2011, I was in attendance in St. Louis for Jason Kelce's first game as a Philadelphia Eagle. And to give even more context, my father was the one to introduce me to Eagles football. And I find it very fitting that we were in attendance for that game together, and we watched his career, his legendary career up until then, and we both cried during the Eagles Super Bowl run and whatever. So I just wanted to say thank you, Jason. You don't understand the impact that you've made for our family, and just I mean, there's no words that we could comprehend, but it's been a joy watching you from your first career game in attendance to up until now. It's literally been a true honor. Thank you so much, Jason Kelce. You're a freaking Eagles legend, and we love you. Go Birds.
Amazing. I mean, that's an amazing phone call. It really is. I don't even know what to say. I think you kind of nailed it perfectly. We all feel something very similar. That's a pretty damn cool story. It truly is, and that's what it's all about. It's what it's all about, is the relationships that we create through sports, the community coming together. That's why it annoys me when we have this friction, fans, players, this and that, and it's been a rough few weeks for sure. But Jason Kelce is really what describes what makes this so special and what makes this awesome. And it's a reminder that even through some of this dysfunction, there is greatness in all this. And when you get it, like Jason gets it, there's no better bond. There's just no better bond. So thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate all your love and support. And thank you, Jason Kelce, because you've been a big part of my life as an Eagles fan and everybody's life here in this city. So thank you so much, and I'm sure we're still going to be seeing a lot of them. It ain't going to die down from that standpoint. We'll be seeing them shirtless, getting drunk in many different places, I'm sure. But thank you, Jason Kelce, and thank you all for listening, and we will be talking very, very soon.